Hello there, I'm Tim and he's John and this is How to Murder Time, a podcast about games and things.
Hello everybody.
Watcha?
It's another week.
It is.
More games we played. Games have actually been played.
Did you see the match last night?
It was tragic the way we were cheated.
Yeah. Well, it was always going to be a game of two halves, but we gave it 125%, and it was always going to be challenging facing a 3-4-3-4-4-3 formation. So I think my boy's done good.
Could I talk about random motor racing instead? Because I actually saw that.
I think we're going to be good in the final. It was going to be great. Actually, that's happening right now, isn't it? The actual World Cup final, I think.
I like that you keep dating stuff.
Yeah, I know. It's good.
Yeah. It doesn't go out for a week and a
half. They
half.
don't think this is live.
Yeah, it was a week and a half till this goes out. We don't know who's going to win the World Cup.
Oh, okay.
We do know that Sam Bird didn't win the Formula E Championship, though.
There was other sport as well, and something with tennis too. And I watched none of it because I really don't care. It's great. I am totally disconnected from society and things.
But we don't know who won the German Grand Prix.
Right, okay. Good.
I think that's next.
Shall we totter back onto something with which you can speak with a small amount of authority?
Any ideas?
Let's talk about computer games. I'm going to do what we're playing Static Group Roundup.
Oh, okay.
It's been at least a month probably or something.
Last we heard you were saying that you weren't playing anything because you hated everyone and wanted more free time.
That's not strictly true.
That's not entirely what you said.
You're paraphrasing somewhat. No, we've still got stuff going on during the week. We have Factorio on the Tuesdays.
Yes.
So Candle's hosted the server there for us, and we're all chipping away at it.
Now, we're going from a baseline of this game is getting out of hand.
It is pretty... Yeah, he posts the occasional map on the Slack channel so you can see how the base is expanding and going mad. It's like the most insane game of tower defence StarCraft ever, really. It's just goes and goes. So we're currently... I think the point of it all is to try and launch something into space, a satellite into space, or launch a rocket to get off the planet you crashed on. That's the sort of overall story of Factorio, such that it exists.
I quite like the idea of having to scratch build an entire space program from first principles.
Yeah, pretty much. You start with like a coal-fed mining drill thing on a field of iron ore, and away you go. Next thing you know, there's trains running everywhere. It's turned into kind of transport tycoon our world now. So the problem is that you research more and more advanced technologies to get that all the way up the tech tree, at the top of which is launching rockets into space, which is fine. But each successive technology requires more and more science packs of varying different colours, and each of those requires different materials to make. And so you assemble those in a factory and then shove it into a lab, and it does science, and you end up with progress on the research bar, which is fine. But obviously, the more and more technologies you get down the tree, the bigger those, the more the research packs you need, so the more materials. The whole sort of pyramid feeding into science at the top gets wider and wider at the bottom, and suddenly you're starting to need superhuman levels of automation and massive mining operations and mass production just to get the thing done in any kind of reasonable time. So we find that you need to then find more and more raw materials, which come in the form of coal, iron ore and copper ore and stone. And oil as well, oil patches that you put oil wells on, and they deplete. So you use the map as you feed it all into your base to develop things, to make stuff and to do science. So you have to keep going further and further and further to find more and more materials. And the map, I guess it's a sort of generates it as you go off the edge type thing.
How big is the map?
I don't know.
Is it finite?
I don't know if it's
finite. Are you going to
finite.
run out of resources because you weren't efficient enough on day one?
I don't think so. And as far as I can tell, Kendall was explaining how it works, and he's basically saying the further away you go from the start point, the bigger the resource beds get.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of scales as your sort of massive territorial ambitions expand as well, which is good. Of course, the number of Gribblies that are occupying these areas, it gets bigger and more powerful as well. They tend to gear up in more or less approximate to your own abilities. So as you develop armor-piercing bullets or flamethrowers or whatever, or exploding tank shells, they start to become sort of move up through red to blue to green variants, which have like insane damage reduction and really high output damage. So if you were to say not upgrade your weapon? Yeah, well, they're triggered by pollution, which comes off of all of your stuff. So it is all entirely a self-inflicted problem, but the bigger our massive production gets and the larger our area, the more insane the hostile native response gets as well. So that gets quite challenging. So usually we have Votes for Cake out charging around in his tank with a variety of insane weapons that we're sort of we as a kind of back end development Q's laboratory could keep coming up with to furnish him with. It's developed a kind of momentum of its own now. I mean, we had we did initially come up with this fantastic sort of main bus idea. So you have these little conveyor belts with things on them that take from one place to another. And we thought, how about just a massive band of belts with all the different stuff on each belt, and then you can just pull off splitters to go to different subsections. It was all very meticulous and orderly, but it's just not up to the job now.
You've discovered the first rule of bandwidth.
Bandwidth is a thing, yeah. I mean, you can upgrade your little conveyor belts from yellow to red versions to blue versions, and they're faster and faster versions, so stuff gets around at a quicker rate. But it's all about bandwidth and throughput, and it absolutely is, circuit design and process design for entertainment, which is just an odd thing in general, really. But so what we're now having to do, now we're finding we're relying much more on the trains. They have a fully functioning train system in their tracks, engines, cargo wagons, and so on. All sorts of different signals and points.
Do the cargo wagons hold more than one unit per physical item? Do they save you lots of space?
They have a number of... Everything's in stack sizes, which is the same either if it's your own inventory or a chest on the ground or a cargo wagon. So they'll take a stacks of things, but the cargo wagons have a lot of spots and stacks, And you can put different things in each spot for each stack, although often we tend to just dedicate entire four cargo wagon trains to shuttling ore and things about, because that's the sort of thing we need, with 2 engines on each one. And so now we have this... I tell you what, I'm scared of trains, because... Well, the trains, they go quite fast. They have a certain degree of inertia and mass and do quite kinetic damage if you're stood in front of them on the tracks.
It's one of the well-known things.
Trains are dangerous. I've been killed more times by trains than by alien gribblies.
That does not surprise me at all.
No. I mean, and that's not even including the times where I sort of forget where I am and open my inventory to have a rummage around when I'm stood on a train track. The trains move pretty fast, and of course you're zoomed in at a character-based level. You don't really get to see them coming until it's too late. So it's crossing the tracks is a bit of a gamble generally, but certainly running along the tracks is a bad idea.
No bridges?
Although I'd love to see tunnels for trains that you can put conveyor belts under the ground up, just so that you can do the wiring a bit better. But no, there's no over or under trains and no pedestrian bridges or level crossings or anything like that. You just have to leg it and hope for the best. But yes, I think we did find a link to a fantastic Reddit thread which they'd done science, and they worked out that your little guy can build various suits of armour as well, and that goes up to power armour, which itself has internal sockets, and you can put widgets and gadgets and things in there. Some of those. So we reckon that, according to this Reddit thread, if you put 6 Mark III force fields in your power armour, you can withstand a hit from a train. Oh yes, I don't know if the train survives or not, but we haven't done that actually. We haven't tested this science yet. But exactly, it's just been tempting. But no, mostly I've gone and put exoskeleton legs in my power armour, and you can stack those. So I've got 6 sets of those, and I run.
You're just really tough.
I run about the same speed as a train now.
Okay,
nearly, but not quite as fast. So what I've decided to do is try and conquer my fear of trains, and I've started building passenger platforms, because we've got all these depots where we load and unload stuff to go off to different sort of subsidiary factories. Because that's the point. This whole bus system and a centralised base is just not working anymore. We've got far too much stuff and need it in such great rates that what we're now having to do is actually build entire manufacturing plants out in the wilds in these vast areas.
You need a modular approach.
Yes. So it's a vast wilderness that we've cleared inside these ever-expanding perimeter wall with sentry guns around it. And once you've cleared out the insides, they don't respawn inside. So we've got lots of empty space. So we're starting to build a whole massive factories that will just take, say, plastic, green circuits and the other thing, copper wire, I think, and turn that all into red circuits, and then that just goes to another train station platform, and that train can be rerouted off to wherever the red circuits are needed next. So, and by sort of pulling it all apart and distributing it out across our massive industrial empire, we're able to put in a great deal more capacity and throughput for everything. But of course, it's all predicated on the raw materials being there, and we are starting to consume entire 1 million units of copper ore in I don't know, perhaps 2 or 3 sessions. We'll run past it and think, oh, hang on, there's all these mining machinery just sat there doing nothing there anymore. We've eaten it all. So it's a sort of momentum. You get pulled into this sort of headlong acquisition, and ultimately at the end of it, presumably we'll have enough science research to have ticked off the task and won. But I don't know where that ends, and I don't know if I've certainly never seen it before. This is my furthest go. I've had a brief go at it in the single player world, but
I played it a long time ago.
Yeah, but this is definitely well into my furthest I've ever seen it going on. So we're currently researching atomic bombs.
That'll end well.
Yes, I know. I don't know what the next research will be done, but the one after that will be into sticks and stones again, I suppose. But yeah, so I don't know how practical that is. We've already got artillery, which is fantastic. So you got these you kind of point defence turrets you load bullets into, and they daka sentry guns on the edges. They're automatic. It becomes a massive tower defence game in some ways. And then you can upgrade that to lasers. They don't need bullets. You just connect them to the electricity grid, and they'll pew pew, and they'll shoot stuff down. Then you got flamethrowers as well. They need the fuel delivery, which is a bit more complicated, but you've got these artilleries, which are massive sort of field guns that can hit I don't know. I'm totally adrift with scale on that map, but they can certainly hit. I don't know, what looks to be about half a mile to a mile away.
Okay.
Yeah, so as long as you've got radar coverage, these things will just start automatically lobbing shells halfway across the map. Trouble is, they aim for enemy buildings. The aliens have got these gribbly, StarCraft style production buildings as well as the actual creatures, and they'll hit the buildings and destroy them. At which point, all the aliens that are swarming around it will go right, and they just can't make a beeline directly for the nearest base wall. So that gets a bit hectic sometimes when you've nuked a particularly large group of them. But yeah, so we've settled into a bit of a pattern, a bit of a routine now. We've got the it's all about the train system now as the main sort of bus, I suppose, main way of getting stuff around. I imagine it is turning into Transport Tycoon. We've got materials need to go from here to here, and it's the ratios of trains now rather than how many conveyor belts running in parallel do we need to, and how many furnaces to melt and keep on top of it all. It's a real game of absolute optimization about the ratios of things. So how many mining machines do we need per furnace, and how many furnaces do we need per factory to make these things, and how many of these things go into make that, and the idea of tweaking things and increasing production in some area and then seeing where the bottleneck is next, and then making sure you've got enough trains running backwards and forwards to keep it all running. And there's real satisfaction in sort of getting that elegantly set up, getting those ratios running smoothly. But of course it never stays. It's not you solve it once and it's finished, because it all hangs off of incoming iron ore and copper ore and whatever in the first place, and those run out. So you then have to go off and start again, and then that changes the ratios again. But then I suppose it's the problem is it's not a problem to have too much capacity for making things, but it's just keeping it all supplied. It's going to be the challenge going forward, I think. We're constantly having to expand the base, having to clear the stuff out, having to go out in sorties with the tanks. Mind you, we're finding that our personal exosuits with the running mods and the guns we used are a bit more at least as powerful, if not more powerful, than the tanks. So I didn't like the cars. The cars was there for transport, but they're really clunky to drive, and they damage things when you hit things with them a lot. And they're not very responsive at all. The tanks are a similar sort of kind of driving model, because this whole thing's 2D top-down sprites and things anyway. But the tanks are similar, but you've got obviously bigger guns in them. But I don't know. I think we find we do well just running around with super maxed out power armor all full of widgets and doing it all on foot, really. And artillery, of course. I quite enjoy dropping artillery around on people. Not on purpose, but I like to help. So I tend to fire field guns into melee sometimes, which I'm not sure how things are going to work once we've got nukes on the go.
You like to feel involved.
Yes. Ideally from about a quarter of a mile away with some sort of binoculars, really. It's my position on a battlefield. But then
don't need a spotter because you're more than capable of seeing the explosion.
You don't need a spotter. You just lay down fire on the entire horizon and you catch something. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting once we've got the atom bombs ready to go. And I don't know, we must be running out of technology soon. We can't be that far away from getting the rocket stuff and the silos and all the rest of that on the go. So I don't know how much longer we've got on this particular. Well, I mean, I enjoy the camaraderie of it all and stuff, but it does feel to me like a task with a specific victory condition and end, And then after that, I don't know what we'll play. Perhaps we'll start again. Perhaps we'll play something.
Do it properly
different.
This time.
Do it properly this time. Yes. I think we all learned valuable lessons there. Rail chain signals going in, normal rail signals going out. I'm very bad at designing railway junctions. It's okay. It doesn't cause. I don't cause. My problems is I put the wrong signals everywhere, and then the train will just sit at the station going no path, no path, no path. It can't go. Yeah. I've yet to cause a situation where two trains just go slamming head on into each other. So
you just cause a situation where none of your resources get delivered.
Nothing works anymore. It's all locked up. So Candle has to keep running through and fixing my signals and stuff. So it's It's good though. I mean, it's a weird sort of gaming session. It's not like sort of working in a going through a dungeon in a normal MMO or something. There's long periods of involved, intense, companionable silence as everyone's getting on designing their stuff, because it is very cerebral. You're thinking about how you're laying stuff out. You're trying to wire stuff up, get it all working together, and it's quite a mental exercise. It is a puzzle game in a way, as much as it is any kind of RTS or Minecraft alike. So this does sort of lead to long periods of everyone just quietly thinking and getting on with stuff. Yeah, we'll chat as well, but it's not that sort of constant natter, now go do this, do that. You get in a sort of playthrough of a dungeon or a Warframe or something like that. So yeah, it's not an unusual gaming experience, but I like it. It's rewarding, and every so often you sort of zoom out on the map and you look at what we've done in not that many weeks really, and it's, my God, look at all this. But yeah, automation. It is a game about automation, which it doesn't immediately come across to begin with. You sort of carrying stuff from one place to another, and you're thinking, oh, this is a bit tedious. Well, yes, you're not really meant to do it like that once you've unlocked the relevant technologies. Little grabby arms and the wiring that lets you you can do some sophisticated stuff with counting quotas of the amounts of items and turning things on and off based on the amount of things you have, so you can avoid wastage, that sort of thing. I don't really understand those things too much, but there's a kind of logic system to it as well. You can add switches and gates and decision making to the little grabby arms and conveyor belts as well, so that it doesn't just automatically run until it runs out of stuff. You can have them turn off and on based on certain conditions or related boxes or whatever. So yeah, there's a real in-depth and elaborate thing to the whole thing. I'm looking forward to seeing the end, though. I imagine the final cutscene is going to be amazing.
Yes.
It's not really a story-based game, no. You just get to the end and go, yes, you've done it, and you go, oh, okay.
It may not even do that.
Probably not, no, I don't know. But yeah, so once we got the rocket, I don't know how much longer we got to go. I mean, some of these last technologies are really hungry in terms of very advanced science, which needs a lot of subcombines. So there's a lot of infrastructure to build yet, a lot of expansion and territory to do, a lot of bugs to splatter. So yeah, lots going on in there. So yeah, that's what Factorio. Do you want to talk about anything?
I'm going to talk about a game, Danger Zone 2.
Danger Zone 2.
Do you remember Danger Zone?
No.
It is the game by some of the people that did make Burnout, who left and made their own company to make games that are a bit like Burnout.
Oh, okay.
And it was set in an underground testing environment with Crash Junction.
Yes, I remember you talking about this.
And it's managed to completely fail to capture the spirit of Burnout.
Yeah, a sort of sanitised health and safety, careful now version of Burnout. Yeah.
This is their next game.
Yeah.
And part of their stated goal to get to Dangerous Driving, which is their ultimate game, which is to be a full Burnout type
Burnout
game.
Paradise remake.
No, just a Burnout 3.
Oh, okay.
Because that being more crashy.
Right.
And so this one is outside in various locales across the world, and you have to drive to the crash junctions now and do a bit of racing to get there.
Okay.
So on your way there, you might have to get as in the other Burnouts, with some cars, when you're on your boost, when it gets to the end, if you manage to burn it all the way down, it automatically replenishes. You may have to have that happen 4 times, or you might have to take out X number of caravans or vans, or just that number of cars, and that will give you a bonus when you arrive.
Right.
And then when you get there, you just got the normal crash junction. And you get there, everything crashes, lots of stuff happens, and then you get a score at the end, and then get a rating, and you go on a leaderboard, and then the next level starts, and that's the entire game.
Okay. See, I'm thinking that I probably don't like that. I don't like the idea, because for me the whole point of crash junctions was start, go, do it, and now I need to try again to see if I can better my score, and it's that immediacy, do it. And this whole idea of like a 2-3 minute normal street race to get there sounds really disruptive.
Trying to get there is really disruptive. Also, they got rid of the flyover.
The flyover?
Where it goes over and it shows you the junction to start with.
Oh, yes.
You don't get that now.
Oh, so you're going in blind.
So you're turning in blind. You've got a couple of minute drive to get there.
And it just
or a
says,
minute
now
drive
crash.
to get there. And then you get there and you don't know what you're meant to do. You don't know where you're meant to go or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is not a good improvement.
Oh, dear. No.
The scope of the game's bigger, and the scope of the game's along the right way. But
does this feel like a tech demo? Prototype, perhaps, or some sort of Burnout Paradise-y type of recreation?
It feels like the next step into Burnout 3, and they have said the next game will be the full one. But And they've been very upfront about the fact that what they're doing is they're funding the full game by doing chunk by chunk by chunk.
That was my next question. Is it a Kickstarter thing? Is it a
crowdfunding
thing?
It's not crowdfunding.
Okay.
It's they're funding it by just ramping up the game.
Okay.
And this is a lot closer, but the physics are still wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. The cars don't feel heavy enough.
How do they get that wrong? That must be a solved problem from the first games. The first games were spot on.
Yeah, I know, and I can't explain
the original Burnout games. Did they just not have access to the source code? Was it different people? It's been a long time.
Some of the same people. They don't have any access to the source code legally.
Yeah,
because that's still owned by EA.
No one knows how they did it in the first place.
I don't think they can probably remember, but and then again, you're also working on a different engine. You're using the physics engine in Unreal instead of using their own engine that they've designed. So yeah, the car, you're going along, you'll check traffic and it'll just go spinning off like it weighs nothing and then take out other cars. And then you get to the end crash and it doesn't feel chunky or crunchy. It just feels like things touching each other. And yeah, it just, I don't know, they missed the core of the game somehow.
That's really disappointing because Burnout was a really sort of special kind of formula. Yeah. It really came together well.
What makes it worse is I've also been playing the re-released Burnout Paradise.
Yeah.
Which that they released on the more modern consoles, and you play that and
that's different again. I mean, that was a fantastic game, but for other reasons. I mean, the Showtime thing in Burnout Paradise was terrible.
Yeah, that was.
There was no real crash.
This is better than the Showtime thing in Paradise.
Yeah,
but the way the cars felt while driving them, and when they crashed, and bits going everywhere, and you compare the two, and it's just not close.
Well, yeah, that's a disappointment.
It is. It's a massive disappointment, and it's a real shame that it's a shame they're making the full game next because I don't think they've solved the initial problems.
You don't think they're ready?
No, I don't think. I think that the next game isn't going to be that good because
maybe there'll be feedback from all this Danger Zone 2 thing.
Well, but they probably have the same feedback from Danger Zone 1 and. They haven't done anything about it. All they've done is take out.
We have listened to what you've said, and we are going to ignore you.
Okay. Seems like what they've done is they've solved a couple of the problems. They moved it outside, made it a bit more, but then they got rid of the flyovers. So each crash junction is I'm going in blind. I don't care.
Yeah, just whatever.
Yeah.
But
and at the end, there's no flyover at the end either. So you don't know where the.
Is there a correct or optimal solution to the junction, or is it just here's a junction at the end of your race, just crash, do what you like?
There's a high score, so there must be a proper way to do it, but it's so much harder to spot what it is now.
Because in the original Burnout games, there was a very optimal. I'm not sure. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you get the super duper score and everything. But because all the traffic came in at particular times, it was always the same specific vehicles every time you come in. So that suggests that there is a known specific,
but
perfect route through.
Now there's no way of telling beforehand where they're going to come, and afterwards you've got no idea where they were.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, that could be passed off as increasing the challenge of the puzzle element of it, I suppose. But
it's diminishing the challenge. Diminishing the puzzle.
This street race on the front of it as well, because that was always you really, with the original Burnout games, you really wanted to get straight back in it and have another go, get right in. Often some of the junctions in the original game, the lead-in was a bit too long. I always thought, you'd have to sort of drive for at least 30 seconds before you hit the stuff. But if you essentially it's a kind of explodey physics sandbox toy, you don't really want to have this weird racing thing stuck on it, unless that was just them trying to develop and design a bit of a racing game anyway.
Well, because when they go to the next one, it's going to have full race modes because it won't just be the crash junctions. But even so, the actual racing doesn't feel chunky enough to cover that bit either. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a bit of a disappointment.
It is rather.
Carrying on through the week, we're still playing Warframe. I'm amazed at how I've fallen for this game. I'm really enjoying it a lot, and it's not.
I got a free thing for Warframe. Can't remember
not really. They give out free things all the time. You just link your Twitch account to their thing. You get some stuff. You do this, that, and the other. You get some stuff. I think there was an Amazon Prime Day thing.
Yeah, that's what I got.
I don't know. What's that? Skin? I think that's a skin for your landing craft, your little jet fighter attack thing. Yeah, so I mean, it was just a bit of free to play fluff that I saw an interesting news article about and thought, I'll have a look at this. I'll have a look at this, and I've just become basically hooked. I spend quite a bit of money on the platinum currency in there nowadays. You know, I mean, they quite often, so every day you get the login rewards, as
Yeah.
you do in pretty much every one of these games these days. And sometimes that login reward will be 75% off the cash shop currency for 24 hours. And I think, well, okay, so I just save my purchases until one of those comes up, really. And then I buy 4 times as much as I normally would. So I pay them the same as I was going to anyway. But, you know, like five quid here or there, and that lasts me for, you know, a good couple of months.
Yeah.
So it's still a lot better value than a subscription game. And I just find myself really enjoying the basic moment-to-moment gameplay, which apparently is my new catchphrase, moment-to-moment gameplay. So, I mean, just the business of going down the corridors, shooting people with a variety of interesting and funky weapons and or stabbing them with ninja swords, and the crazy parkour. I've never played any game with such fluidity of movement. I mean, you know, even the well-done Assassin's Creed
You need
games.
to try Titanfall.
Okay, yeah. Is that available on PC? I thought it was a console. Okay, cool.
Titanfall 2 is, at least. I can't remember the first one was.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, even games where ostensibly it is about the parkour, things like the Assassin's Creed games or Prototype or
they're still not.
it's just nothing compared to this, because, you know, these Warframes exceed and transcend normal human motion because of various plot reasons about what they are and how they work and so on. But they've really managed to make it feel like a satisfying game where you feel pleased at running well, pleased at you know, melee, you know, running through a room, ninja, stab, and you can do that and it works and you feel awesome coming out at the end of it. You know, the ability to exercise your gaming skill in a satisfying manner at the end of it all, come out the end and thinking, wow, I didn't think we'd do that. The co-op's really good. It's 4-player. You know, okay, fine. You know, so what happens if there's 5 of you? That's always going to be a problem in most places, I suppose. But I mean,
have less friends.
Yeah, exactly. But we take turns, whatever. You know, I mean, there's usually roughly 4 of us on when we play, so we do the co-op stuff, and that lets us help each other through some of the more difficult missions. There's a bit of a difficulty curve to it, but there are a lot of tools available to approach the problems with. Mostly the Warframes themselves. Yeah. Each of them is essentially a class with specific abilities and also different characteristics. Some are fast, some are tanky. So you can find a tool to do the job. A couple of them fly or teleport, you know. I mean, so, you know, there's different ways and means to get around a lot of the tricky problems. Some of the story-based stuff gets quite complicated and tricksy and hard to deal with, but you learn, and there are tools there to be able to do it. So I found some of the stuff difficult, but I found nothing impossible so far. So I've done all the story missions now, all the quests in there that are available now.
You've won them,
including the Sacrifice, which is the most recent large content drop. Their business with Umbra, the Umbra Warframe and so on, and that was really good. The story's really quite fascinating, actually, quite interesting and quite sort of twists and turns, big massive sort of post-human sci-fi space opera thing going on there. And this from a game that didn't really have any story for the first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It's like, I learned an interesting fact the other day. Warframe is in beta.
Is it?
Apparently. Apparently.
What year did it release?
It hasn't technically released. And I did a bit of digging around on this, and this is something that the Digital Extremes is the company that make it. They've said that, you know, well, we're not going to release it because we're still changing things about, and they do. They sort of mix things up. They try whole new gameplay modes that are, you know, with lesser or greater success, and it's astonishing that something this polished and this, you know, functional and popular, I think it's number 4 game on Steam at the moment these days, is you know, effectively still, well, it's not early access, it's a beta. I mean, I don't know what the distinction is between any of this stuff anymore, but it's not farming for whales to try and get itself to a launch state. It's well and truly out there. They had their big TennoCon thing. It's like, you know, it's a bit like 3rd or 4th year of this in a row. Hugely popular. I think somewhere in Canada they do this. The big convention centre, lots of goodies and freebies and handouts and stuff. And during this they did the big announce for what's coming up. And yeah, I don't normally care, to be honest.
Oh, you've been drawn in.
I've been drawn in a bit. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to the things that are coming for Warframe. So we got some hoverboard thing that looked awesome. So they got the big thing was Fortuna, which is going to be Plains of Eidolon. You may have heard me talking about, which essentially was their first large-scale outdoor open world type space. Because normally it's all running down corridors in installations and spaceships. Quite a claustrophobic experience, I suppose. But they added a big go outside and wander around the plains, free roaming, shooting stuff. It's almost, you know, a landscape, probably not quite as big as Skyrim, but, you know, we're talking a couple of miles across with horizons, and suddenly the Warframes that can fly and the sniper rifles with 12 times zoom tend to suddenly shine all of a sudden. But But yeah, so that was, and there was a whole load of new story to go with that, new types of monsters and that sort of thing, new rep grinds and new little outposts and stuff, and that was all quite interesting, quite well received, I think. They added fishing and mining during that one, so now it's a proper MMO.
Yeah.
But yes, so now the next one, but that's all set on Earth. Now there are all the planets of the solar system to go. The next one's going to be set on Venus. It's apparently an ice world. I know, this is like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years into the future, after a number of post-human super technology ancients have been and gone, including the Orokin, who are the sort of the predecessors to the current age, and they left behind all kinds of crazy artifacts, and that, some of which involve some quite insane terraforming. There's a massive ocean on Uranus, so... You know, there's just half the planets on the solar system don't resemble anything like what we know them to look like. Ancient ruins on Mars, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Fortuna. It's this so they're adding a huge landscape that's about 4 or 5 times the size of the plains of Eidolon, including giant spider mechs that you have to sort of find stomping around the landscape and try and chase down and attack and stuff. It's going to be a Corpus-themed outdoor world. The plains of Eidolon was Grenier. And there's a whole new faction of sort of cybernetic indentured slaves that are sort of forming work gangs and trying to fight for their own, fight for resistance. A bit of a Red Faction vibe to it all, I think. So you got hoverboards. They got something called Railjack, which I think is where your squad of 4 can use a spaceship to attack other spaceships, and then some of you become a boarding party using the Archwing things. It sounds really complicated and quite cool. Whether it's a good idea or not in practice, as we'll have to see. But yeah, there's going to be, I think they're adding the customizable Zor type system, but for secondary sidearms instead of just the melee, which exist on Plains of Eidolon. Basically, that's where you can mix and match a hilt, a blade, and a widget, and define weapons based on the kind of stats you like, which instead of just seeing blueprints for weapons and trying them and seeing if they're not good or not. So those are coming as well. There's just a real sense that it's a real it's a game on its ascendancy still. I mean, it's sort of languished for a number of years as a sort of that thing, a bit of a also ran nothing corridor shooter, but it seems to have really picked up. I think probably since Plains of Eidolon, really, it's sort of gaining quite a bit of interest and traction.
Well, it's ever since they decided that if they tried something new with the community, maybe it would work better, and it's worked better.
Yeah, they're very open, they're very transparent. They seem to have a lot of goodwill. I mean, occasionally, you'll get every MMO gets its fair share of bitter vets who've left and then just want to dump on it. But I think most cases people seem to enjoy what's going on there. They like what's being presented. They seem to really get the cash shot well. They give you a lot for your money. They give you a lot for free, to be honest. The cash shop is mostly... I think the only thing you would need to spend money is to open more slots for Warframes and weapons. That's just to let you have more than one of them at once. If you didn't want to spend any money, you can just delete Warframes when you're finished with them and then get new ones and carry on like that. You can play for free for a very long time. Seems very reasonable. I'm such a fanboy nowadays.
You are.
But I just love just dipping in, pick a random mission, some of the alerts or whatever, work on some rep grind faction missions or whatever. But the missions themselves, the gunplay handles well, the melee's fantastic, and that parkour, just the fluidity and freedom of movement of your characters. You're just jumping around, leaping around. And you know what? When you fall off a thing to your death, it just fades to black and puts you back on the ledge. You don't die.
That's cool.
I know. That's a design decision that reveals a lot about the philosophy of the game studio, I think. What happens when I fall off this big crevasse? Yeah, oh, dead. Right, okay. Yeah, or Lotro. Oh, no, well, your ankles break and you have to hobble for 20 minutes. Okay, right. No, just walk you back to the top, have another go. Keep going. Yeah, jumpy puzzles, they do exist, but they're not that critical. I got my Valkyr Prime. So you got these relics, which you get from various missions and sources as rewards. These are sealed relics that you need to then take on a relic mission, which is a normal mission, but during which you get special enemies teleporting in through these big rifts that are all glowy. And if you kill enough of those, they drop some stuff, and you get 10 of those things and then complete the normal mission. You get to open the relic that you slotted at the start of the mission, and inside the relics are their boxes, basically. But you don't actually spend any real money to open them. You get them through gameplay, and you open them through doing other gameplay. Inside those relics is a combination of bronze, silver and gold rarity items, common, rare, uncommon, all that sort of thing. And then if you get 4 of the matching set of an item, you can put them together to make a thing. And that's usually primes, they're called. They're like got very blinged up versions of existing weapons. They typically don't have any significant gameplay advantage over the non-prime versions you get through normal gameplay, but they do look quite fash. And I got Valkyr Prime sorted. I got all the bits and built it because Valkyr is the Warframe that my personal favourite. It's an insane melee DPS berserker type that has a kind of toggle with enough energy, and you can use your number 4 power, which makes you invulnerable. Ooh. And then gives you a ton of extra buffs to doing melee damage, so you can just go berserk literally, and also
hope that you finish it before you run out.
Yes, well, you whilst in that mode, damage you do heals you.
Yeah.
So it's literally feeding. And I think if you finish that mode and there are enemies still around you, you take a health hit and you get quite damaged by that. So you have to make sure, you clear it, find a clear space before you turn it off again or it runs out. And it's got an AoE shout that speeds up your melee, you and all your team's melee attack speeds and slows the enemies down. It's got an AoE paralyze burst and also a ripcord wire thing that you can just fire and yank people towards you, or yank yourself up to scenery with. Although I find you can jump higher than that normally, so not so useful. But I really like the Valkyr one, and I'm just quite pleased I got the Prime one, the flashy with all the gold trim, so it's quite good. I don't see a real end to it. I mean, my current goals in there, I suppose, is ticking off all the map pins. It's got that sort of constellation, the solar system map, a bit like the Destiny one, although possibly they had it first, I don't know. But each of those pins is a mission, and some of the missions are harder than others, and some of them go off onto some sort of weird little side mechanics where you have to accumulate tokens to progress, that sort of thing. So there's lots more to do in there, which mostly dealing with the harder types of missions I might be a hand with. But we play fairly regularly a lot of nights of the week, and we help each other out get through these things. I think also just marking time till this Fortuna expansion comes. Apparently 2018. It's going to be this year sometime. So not long to wait. So it should be good. Looking forward to that. So Warframe's still very much a thing at the moment. I don't know when I'm going to get bored of that really at the moment. It just goes to show when the business of playing the game is quite fun. Then staying interested in the game tends to be quite easy. I find. Not really profound wisdom there, is it? No. Okay, over to you.
I'm going to talk about Warhammer 40,000 Gladius.
Gladius.
It has more words to that name, but I couldn't be bothered to remember.
There's a couple of Warhammer 40,000 things I'm seeing in various Steam and GOG and stuff, coming soonsies and whatnot.
Yeah, this one was released very recently. And imagine Civ.
Okay.
Hex-based. Build a city.
Yes, that was the one I was looking at. Some screenshots of.
Yeah, hex-based, build a city, make units, do stuff. Don't expect to be diplomatic winning this anytime soon.
Pacifist playthrough in 40k, yeah. No idea.
I played a couple of games of it.
Yeah.
All as Space Marines.
Yeah.
Basically, as Space Marines, you have one city, because you only have one city, so you can't build any more.
You drop stuff, is it?
Yeah. But you... there are various spots around the map. If you stand on them, you capture them, which are different resources. But you can put a Fortress of Redemption next to it.
Okay.
Which will basically give you some defences for that thing. We can only do so much of that because you need to have all the resources to be able to keep everything up, and of course that designed carefully to stop you just going completely nuts and turtling in.
The usual ills of Civilization gameplay, yeah.
So the most successful game I've had of it so far, started as Space Marines, it's got no clue what chapter you are.
Okay.
All the artwork and everything and things people say make you think that you're a Ultramarine, but you're the wrong shade of blue, you got the wrong markings, and also you don't fit in the plot like that.
Can you choose what chapter you want to be?
No, I would have given it painting.
Maybe that was an unrealised stretch goal or something. Maybe they were designing it. Yeah, exactly. I don't expect any game where you are Space Marines. You should feature a paint shop thing where you can paint up them to look like whichever your favourite chapter is. Otherwise, Ultramarines again, yawn, whatever. I mean, you can get away with that kind of thing in Space Marine because that's essentially a third-person story shooter where you're one guide and it doesn't really matter what chapter you are in that. And you happen to be Ultramarines, I suppose. But if you're choosing whole Empire, essentially,
So you start off, you have a couple of tactical squads. You send them out. You're wandering around slowly around the map, discovering new things, finding NPCs who want to kill you. There's a bunch of stuff straight out the Rogue Trader rulebook from back in the day, like ambles are in there. The big splintery tough things, these big floaty brain things who will take over your unit, and they will be on their side then until you kill them.
Cactus things.
I don't think there's a
They were my favourite.
Catchian Devil, which is Scorpion,
All right.
and Cruit Hounds.
There's a lot of stuff in that very first edition 40k rulebook that's got thrown out over the years.
Yeah.
It was a real shame. Back when they thought it was a role-playing game.
Yeah, and you continue wandering around the map until you start finding your enemies. You basically expand out as you can, grabbing all the resources you want, putting Forces of Redemptions next to all of the ones that you think you need some defences on, building up. There's a research tree as well.
It's a familiar format, yeah.
Yeah, so you unlock Assault Marines, Devastator Marines, Scout Bikes, Land Speeders, Predators, Vindicators,
Bronze working,
all you
horseback riding.
expect, and then you come up against the enemy.
Right.
And in the game I played last night, I found the enemy, and the enemy first one I found was Astra Militarum, Imperial Guard, as was.
Oh, right. And they're the enemy, are they? I thought they were on the same side as mankind.
There is only war.
Oh, right, fair enough.
And
Have army will fight.
they weren't easy enough things to take down. They had a couple of squads of
They were probably heretics.
troopers, and they got shot pretty quickly. The armoured sentinels gave me more work, and then I basically took some predators in and destroyed their main city, and that took up the civilization, as you would expect.
Predators for the win.
While I was doing that, I got the notification that the orcs had been killed,
Oh, right.
which was interesting and was a prelude to what was coming next.
Yeah.
I think this game may have a slight balance problem, because then the Necrons,
Yeah.
finishing up their War of the Orcs, which
Yeah.
they'd obviously easily won,
Yeah.
completely steamrolled me.
Right.
And just came in and completely wiped me off the map.
They're the ones that get new troops by killing enemies.
Well, no, they basically.
Oh, no, that's right. They're the ones for whom there are an untold number of soldiers buried under every planet at all times.
Also, they have repair
could just-
protocols once they get up again.
Right, yeah.
And in this case, one, they're very, very fast, and some very, very fast units.
Okay.
Two, they have insane healing each turn.
Mm-hmm.
And three, the AI is intelligent enough
Oh,
to have two similar units and switch them in and out on each other.
Ooh, don't see that a lot.
No.
Clever.
Do you know why?
Because it's unbeatable.
Yes.
Is this the AI problem? Is this the computer game AI problem? Is it?
Yeah, and this was the game where I turned the difficulty down a level from the first game, which I'm not going to talk about because that was even worse. Yeah, I think Necrons may be a little bit out unbalanced, so I'm going to start playing as Necrons.
Well, how do you beat Necron? What's the... Oh, well, I suppose it matters what they are in tabletop, does it? This is
No, you just shoot them, yeah.
abstraction, so...
Usually just shoot them.
Oh, right. Yeah, we'll go for them first before they build up, I suppose.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, sounds quite grim.
Yeah.
Is that on purpose? Is that because it is just harshness in 40k?
I don't know.
Is this a real big game balance problem?
It's very possible that it is on purpose. It's also very possible that I just don't know how to kill them properly. It's also very possible that I'd overextended myself to take out the Astra Militarum force, and so
that's a problem. Yeah,
because I had to fight my way up the entire side of the map, and so I had all my resource points taken up there.
Is this a
Took
campaign?
everything.
Is it going to be the same map each time you try it, or is
No,
it procedural?
it seems to be
Does it
random.
generate something?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you just got unlucky with placements and stuff.
Yeah, so I'd take up the thing at the top, then he came from the side and just sort of steamrolled it. Lots of fast units, took out all of my resources in a turn.
Yeah, that's always the problem. The wider you expand, the harder it is to keep it all.
So what I might start doing is something which I've always done back in the day was I don't like that whole you fight a war and then
Whoever didn't fight gets to stomp whoever won. So
I might just start doing one-on-ones.
Well, yeah, presumably you can define the...
you can. You're full control. You can say... Or
how many enemies are
or
there?
I might
just
set
one.
the Necron AI to very, very, very easy.
Well, just tick the no Necrons box. Yeah.
Oh, you can do it. You
More
can,
orcs, please.
You can say all of the different things.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, I think probably one-on-one versus Necrons would be a good arena in which to learn how to fight them properly.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about the first time
Or
you
I just
encounter
always
them being
play against play as Necrons from now on.
Well, yeah, if you can't beat them, join them, of course.
Yeah.
That's a solution.
Yeah, but it's a good game. I'm really enjoying it. It's one of those Slytherin tactical games.
How does actual fighting work? Because clearly it's a big strategic move stuff around a big country map thing. But when two armies meet, what happens? Is it dice rolls, or do you actually go to a little grid with people moving about?
No, it's not armies, it's units. One unit per hex.
Okay.
And so you'll
So it's a sort of skirmish game.
you'll basically have a tank on one and a squad of troops on the other.
Okay, and what happens when they meet? Is it just some dice rolls and someone's won and lost? Or is there an actual battle happen?
No, they're just some dice rolls and some damage is caused.
Okay.
And
keeps it all at the... So it's purely a strategic
you
game.
got hit points, you got attack damage, you got armour and everything, and it all just works out how much it would have done.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's really fun. It's quite enjoyable.
Well, it does look interesting, yeah.
It's still not the tabletop version of 40k that I think somebody should make.
No,
but yeah, I
keep saying tabletop simulator. Get in there, get a human opponent, and just get somebody's modelled army and have a go in there.
But it's very good, and it's the closest to, it's the best wargamey type one of their games that I've played, I think. It's better than the Sanctus Reach one, which is very good, but still a bit square-based movement.
Does the general standard of 40k tie-in games seem to be good at the moment then? It seems to be seems to be some decent stuff out there.
There's some decent stuff coming out. No doubt there's a bunch of dross coming very soon because that's the way it works. But it seems like a decent amount of good stuff from respected companies coming out. Because there was Martyr.
Because they were just sort of firing off that license in all directions for a while, weren't they? Giving it to anyone who wanted to have a crack
Well, they
at
still are. Yeah, Martyr came out, which is by the people who made Van Helsing. And was very much on the lines of that, which, that game was a little bit shallow in the end, and various things about it don't work, like chat isn't switched on at the moment, because they had to switch it off. So which makes trying to communicate, I'd say hello to people in the guild really hard. And you got this, and there was a couple of others that have been recent, like Sanctus Reach and Space Wolf and things like that, which are all quite good. So I don't know. But then you had stuff like Adeptus Titanicus, which was a bunch of dross. Although they have been continuing to develop that and patch that, so I'd probably have a go and look, because that just released far too early before they got any of the features that they needed.
Yeah, it doesn't do a game any favours.
No. So yeah, I should probably have a look.
Cool. I'm going to talk about Lord of the Rings Online, which is my other big static thing at the moment. We're doing that on the Saturdays, actually, at the moment. And it's going all right. It was always going to be a big slog, a big job. I mean, I picked it as a kind of insane marathon type bucket list challenge for myself, and Multi and Nick Soy have come along for the ride as well, so my condolences. But so it's very difficult to make any serious progress at the moment because it's festival season again.
It always is.
It's the summer festival at the moment.
Is that the one with the jumping on fence posts?
I know. I think that was the St Patrick's Day one, a Bull Roarers festival or something. I don't know. There was one where you had to drink a load of beer that made the screen go wobbly and green and then run along top of the fence. Yeah, that was a bit strange. No, so the summer festival, it's all about the party tree. It's about cooling down in the heat. There's all sorts of activities. You have to carry ice blocks halfway across the Shire, like a post bag, and avoid cats with flames over their heads. You know.
They were in the Silmarillion.
I think so, yeah. You have to deliver ice to the ice cream stand and then take the ice cream back, and you have to take out a bunch of heat waves, which are inexplicable flame monsters just running around the party field.
Again, in a Silmarillion.
Yeah, they're the ones that have a special attack which turns the entire screen white, which is always a bit of a struggle, especially for everyone else standing around at the party field. There's find all the hidden objects around the Shire, like baskets of cheese and stuff that got missing. There's kites. Kites is the thing these days. Go and find a load of crashed kites and collect them up. Fly some kites. Literally, you run up to a kite on a pole and you fly it. Character stands there holding a string, and there's a kite up in the sky, and little channeling bar appears. And you do that 5 times, you get a token.
Interesting.
It's quite mundane and strangely soothing and therapeutic.
Were kites featured in Lake Town?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
There's an opening shot of a small kite at the beginning of The Hobbit when the backstory about the dragon turns up, and this dragon appears as like an omen.
Okay, so
suddenly they're everywhere in Lord of the Rings Online.
We can use Peter Jackson's.
I have actually got a silver dragon kite that I got during the anniversary festival. So you get all your tokens for rinsing and repeating all this stuff around the Shire, and it's just stupid little make busy, chill out, relax work. They've got seasonal instants now. I don't know if this is a thing they've done for other ones, but there's a summer instance where there's some hobbits trying to find the ideal picnic spot, and there's a pony with all the picnic supplies on, and you basically take them across and it's the skirmish stuff, only we don't get your skirmish solder for this one, and you have to take them halfway across the Shire, dealing with heatwave mirages, which are giant flaming giants and flaming tortoises and things, and so basically it's an escort mission across the Shire to the far end where they have a lovely picnic, which then gets eaten by a load of incoming beetles and flies and stuff, and you have to shoo them away. It's all very twee and all very very, very pleasant, but actually quite hard work as well in terms of basic combat gameplay mechanics. And they give out special token currency for doing those, rinse and repeat, and there's the normal summer tokens as well. I might have got a bit involved. My laser focus, which means I'm just going sticking to the story, not doing side quests, just going to get to the end. No, totally gone. So I managed to earn enough tokens for 3 kites now, so I've got 4 in total. I've decided kites are my thing. I'm collecting them. They're basically cosmetic pets, and you stand there with a basically arm up string kite. It's like a fishing line, with a particle effect. Anyway,
and can you wander around with them?
Yes, they're brilliant. You can use them. You can keep. They stay up in combat as well, which is great. So
now the next question, the obvious question: have you used them in mines?
Yes. And they actually flutter lower in underground spaces and indoors. Someone actually thought about this. It's fantastic. Anyway, so I'm using that as a way for the other 2 to find me when I go off herring across the fields on my usual blood-crazed. I am some kind of wrath elf. I think I'm very much the sort of 40k dark elf style of aesthetics where I'm coming from with my character these days. I will just murder everything for the amusement and the sound of the screams, really. And sometimes people even pay me to kill 10 of these things, so that's nice. So I've been doing a lot of festival stuff, and I got lots of kites and bits and bobs, and I've got a house now because I got some furniture from an anniversary quest. I thought, I better get the house to put them in. Totally gone native. Anyway, so that stops today or tomorrow, 16th, the 30th. By the time you watch this, basically, the summer festival over. But don't worry, because in about 2 weeks, it'll be back for another 4 weeks. Because they do that. They just run all their festivals twice for some reason. I don't know, some encore thing. Like I say, I used to think it was because during one of these festivals, they had server troubles and people felt they were cheated out of some days of doing their token grind, so they ran it again as a thing. But now they seem to just do that all the time anyway. There's always another 2-week one a bit later in the year. So opportunity to get more little tokens. Also, they've got barter vendor people in there who will exchange, say, summer tokens for spring tokens or for autumn tokens or whatever. You can basically check. Nice. So if you ended up getting like 30 or 40 tokens and then didn't get to spend them on anything or didn't like the look of anything, just hang on to them because when the next festival comes around, you can exchange them for the current tokens. So
one for one.
I don't think it's 1 for 1 now. I think you lose a few in the exchange. But the tokens are useful carrying them around. Anyway, they just go nuts with their festivals. And that's not even including the player festivals. Things like, Weathertop Stock or whatever, these little music festivals they put on and things. It's it is a silly place that doesn't seem to be taking the threat of Sauron covering the earth entirely seriously. It very much reminds me of Guild Wars 2. I just couldn't really concentrate on Guild Wars 2 really because they present this massive world-threatening apocalypse. The giant dragon going to destroy us all. And then, but don't worry about that. Here's 2 weeks of chasing around the Lion's Arch, ringing bells and stuff. The whole MMO festival thing. Yeah. It's okay in an MMO world which is utterly static and has no big threat and no ongoing major meta narrative. But if there is a massive dragon about to destroy the world, or a big flaming eye atop a tower wanting to cover the lands in darkness, then it seems a bit bad to be just putting all that on hold and then going running around doing ice skating or ringing bells or whatever. But it's just a game, and I think I probably take this kind of stuff a bit too seriously, really. Anyway, so the laser focus, we are now in Dunland, whatever. The bit
soft
between
furnishings.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yes, we're on the Rise of Isengard proper now. Innidrath was a sort of freebie before the Isengard expansion itself started, which was the zone to the south, and then from there it's across to Isengard and the Gap of Rohan and so on. And there's a whole load of stuff going on there. We basically now are amongst the Dunland tribes trying to sort of win hearts and minds. And each of these, there's like the Stag clan, the Falcon clan, the Ox clan, and so on. And we're basically working our way around trying to convince them that, hey, that Saruman guy, he's not really a good guy. You should probably not do what he says. So there's a lot of that, and we're into this sort of weird design that they used for this expansion, where they have quest hub. Fair enough, the usual thing, and referrals onward, and lots of stuff to do when you get to each one. But the main epic story leads you between each of these quest hubs, has you do 1 or 2 tasks, and then presents you with the thing. When you feel you have helped enough, move on to the next place. Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't tell you to just ignore it and get on with the next thing. It's up to you to decide when you've done enough helping. So, with my laser focus, we find ourselves doing absolutely every menial chore available. And what seems to be the consequence of that is that I'm now level 75, which is the top end of the Isengard expansion, and we've just entered the first bit of it. So basically, we've out-leveled the expansion before we even set foot in there.
Wow.
Because the game provides you with far too much quest XP. Basically, if you do all the quests from start to finish, you'll way out level the story and where the zones you're supposed to be in. I think it assumes you're going to just think, oh, sod the lone lands again, or I can't be bothered with the North Downs again. Let's just get on and let's just jump ahead 3 or 4 zones. And I don't know whether that's just a general content bloat. They keep adding stuff, skirmishes, backfilling with extra stuff, or whether they designed that from the word go, or whether the XP lever's been cranked a bit since. I tell you what, part of it is that since I'm actually a subscriber, VIP member, whatever you call it, the rested XP.
Oh yeah.
Now I get that now, whereas freebie plebs don't get that.
Yeah. It's always a problem when you have the.
And where do you pitch the progression then?
Yeah.
For who? Who should be that? It should be aimed at. So we're finding that we're doing a lot of quests where we have to kill grey monsters or grey monsters that aren't really very challenging. And there's 3 of us doing solo quests as well, which does tend to accelerate things along a bit. So we're making some reasonable progress through the content, but it's not terribly challenging. So I don't know. Maybe we should mix it up more with dungeons, scalable dungeons or skirmishes, which you can pick to always be on level. Just to keep it a bit more interesting every now and then. But I don't really want to skip the entire, because I've got, once I dinged level 75, you get an email through from someone down in Rohan saying, come and join us for the battle of whatever, this, that and the other. Basically, you should be here now message. But if you followed that instructions, you miss like a whole, almost nearly an entire expansion's content, which I really want to see. That's part of the reason I'm doing this. So I don't know.
You can't turn XP off.
Well, there's various. You can buy a thing that lets you turn XP off. There's some Stone of the Turtle or something that lets you just stay in place XP so that friends can catch up. But that's a feature that is part of the UI and for free in EverQuest 2. You can right-click the XP bar and say stop earning XP. You have to buy that. I don't even know how much it is. Probably quite a lot of standing stone points or whatever they call them nowadays. But level 75, that's my all-time highest. That matches my original Guardian now, and we've still got the whole of it. But in terms of progression, my Guardian got to the far end of all this Rise of Isengard, to the top of the Great River. So that's still coming. I don't see any signs of slowing down though. We're enjoying the camaraderie and the basic flow of gameplay on Saturdays. It's quite a relaxing sort of thing. So still going there. I have no idea at what point. I mean, the end is not even Mordor anymore because they added Lake Town and Iron Hills and Lonely Mountain and all that sort of Northern Mirkwood stuff. So I want to see all that as well. We'll keep going until we run out of current content and probably just stop and walk away, I imagine. Yeah. Well, I will anyway. So still going there, still going with Lotro, and it's quite a pleasant experience. But compared to the moment-to-moment gameplay, take a drink, of something like Warframe, it's not terribly compelling.
No.
I think my stubbornness would have kept me soloing up to now by now, but it would have been put on some audio books in the background or catch up on podcasts whilst just grinding through it.
Yeah.
But, the epic story, I have to say, the Grey Company stuff, I've been through it once already and it wasn't great that time around. It is a bit make-busy. Basically, you have an entire expansion where you don't follow the Fellowship, where you instead follow some off-screen stuff. Basically, the Grey Company are the Rangers from the north who come down to meet Aragorn around the time he goes through the Paths of the Dead. After the Battle of Helm's Deep. I think they turn up for Helm's Deep, but there's only like a handful of them there, and only one of them actually has a name. So suddenly we get this whole bit of Lotro where you're following them on their journey down to the south and having all sorts of wacky problems and trials and tribulations along the way. And it's okay, but it's Turbine all over, or Standing Stone. They're really good at doing the books.
Yeah.
But they're not that great at making their own stuff up.
Yeah.
The off-screen stuff, the North Downs Forest Shell, they're all a bit MMO-y. Once they don't have the utter Bible of the Lord of the Rings to meticulously follow, because they do a very good job of that. So, looking forward to getting to the Great River and then heading down south to Rohan that way, because we're back on the trail of the Fellowship at that point. And then, all sorts of stuff down in Minas Tirith and so much more to see. I don't think we're even halfway there yet, to be honest. So, I want to get through it all, but trying to box set binge an MMO... is just
insane.
It's insane. Yeah, I mean,
unhealthy.
This is probably the problems we have with Secret World Legends. Was that I want to read this. I want to take part in this story. So effectively, I wanted to consume the Secret World Legends as if it were like 6 episodes of a TV show, and it absolutely isn't. It's 150 hours plus of watching the little clocks cooling down.
Yeah.
And every so often, here's a bit of story. So, I think just because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan anyway, that's helping. But trying to to do an MMO as a single piece of content. Say, I want to experience the entire World of Warcraft. Let's go and do that now. How stupid is that an idea? But I don't know. But yeah, I've started, so I'll finish. Let's throw that sunk cost in there as well. Let's do it. No, I'm enjoying Lotro, but I'm not sure I'd recommend it to anyone else. This is personal reasons, I think. That's pretty much I was going to talk about a whole other game as well, but we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to talk about the same game as well, but
we'll save that for next time then.
Yeah. Or we could say they've just got a bit better graphics than before.
Yeah, all right. Red Faction Guerrilla remastered.
I feel like they did,
yeah. So basically, it's a re-release of Red Faction Guerrilla that I seem to have got given for free.
Yeah, you get it for free on PC.
If you'd bought it on Steam, if you bought Red Faction Guerrilla on Steam, then you'll find that you've probably got the remastered version for free as well. Check your inventory. So I downloaded it, had a go.
Yeah.
It's the same game, and we've talked about it lots on previous shows. It's a very good game, but very hard. It's a bit quirky, hit and miss kind of thing. But somebody, and I don't know who, because I thought THQ went out of business. It's some other company who's got the rights to it. Keiko or something.
Yeah, basically THQ is back.
THQ Nordic.
Yeah, everything got sold off and then rebought round and sold to this other company and bought back in. And now most of the properties are under one
I don't think it's
roof
anything
again.
to do with Volition, because I'm not sure they even exist anymore.
No, I don't think they do.
But yeah, basically somebody, presumably legally as well, this isn't just a plain mod,
it is.
It has gone through and tidied up the graphics in Red Faction and brought it much more forward. Presumably they've done all sorts of 64-bit integration passes.
No, it's still 32-bit, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, the graphics are slightly better. The game is unchanged.
Yeah. So probably not worth getting if you already own Red Faction and didn't like it.
If you're on console...
It's there's nothing vastly. I think the graphics are sharp. We've got some video somewhere, but yeah. But if as a freebie, then it seems good. Yeah, like it. So I'm starting to play through that again. I'll probably talk more about that.
I've got as far as Dust.
Yeah, I just
also,
got into Dust now.
I've got a map and I've started crossing off all the collectibles in the map.
Oh, okay.
So that I know I'm not going to miss them because I've always wanted to get all the collectibles. There's no mechanism in game because it's an older game. So.
Yeah. So I'm still getting to grips with the explosives and the hammer and stuff, and how useless the guns are. Don't use the guns. The guns are useless. Just run in and hit them with the hammer. That insta kills.
I'm quite good with the guns.
I don't know.
I'm shooting people.
It's a really crap shooter. Yeah, but it's just there's like bullet sponges, and you're not sure. You get no feedback.
Aim for the head or failing out the pipe running above the head.
Just lobbing out hydrogen canisters at them. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess it'll breathe a new lease of life into it. But it is essentially the same game. Does the remastered thing have all that DLC where you're the Marauder woman? I remember there was some bonus.
I don't know.
I need to check.
It's got the multiplayer.
Yeah, the Wrecking Crew stuff.
Yeah, the Wrecking Crew sounds fantastic.
So anyway, what did you learn this week?
I learnt that if people could stop running planes over my house, it'd be really nice. I don't even know why. I got the Red Arrows and a Spitfire today, and it wasn't related to any of the air shows around here as far as I can tell.
And I learned that England... Oh, here we go, football. I learned that England are better than they used... A lot better than they used to be in the past, but not as good as people were hoping, or something. I don't know.
Vive la France.
Yeah, I accidentally watched the England-Croatia game because my mum was around and she's quite into the football, so... And I think it was just funny watching her, really, rather than the football. She's really getting into it. But, yes, so I learned I'm still not interested in football, to be honest. So, yeah. Why? They're all just running around. Why don't someone pick it up and just put it in that net thing? Anyway, do your spiel.
Go to handamatotime.com for all our previous stuff, all the old podcasts. Listen to the podcast version of this if you don't want to see our faces. Watch the video version of this if you do. And
watch the video version with the sound off if you don't like our voices.
Yeah, that's a clever idea, that is.
Yeah. Got all bases covered.
You can also catch Tim's latest week along the Southwest Coast Path.
Yep.
When this goes out, Tim will have just died in a massive mishap on top of a cliff.
Oh, wow. That was
with a tent.
That was fantastic. I did actually die. Yeah. I'm not actually here. I'm an apparition.
And join us next time when we'll be playing, talk about what we've been playing again.
See you next time.
Goodbye.